Hi, I'm Jermaine Wilson, and I'm from Prison Fellowship. I want to thank you for tuning into our YouTube channel. The video you are about to watch was made specifically for an incarcerated audience, but we are excited to share with you a glimpse of the hope and encouragement Prison Fellowship is bringing into prisons across the country. Thank you for watching.
You've been given a gift of time where you can learn, where you can study, where you can surround yourself with other people on that same path. And I'm telling you what, if you use this time in a way to make an impact, in a way to make a difference, then whether you ever get out or not, you're still living out your purpose.
Welcome to Thrive, a series in which formerly incarcerated men and women share messages of motivation and hope, specifically how they were able to thrive both in and out of prison and how you can too.
During my first 3 incarcerations, I would come in and leave the same person that came in. And I realized the reason that I kept coming back was because nothing was changing. You hear that in recovery so often. When nothing changes, then nothing changes. And so what I did the last time that's made the world of difference in my time and in my life is I became intentional. I began to look around to see who I was hanging out with. I began to get my eyes off of the gate and quit waiting for the next early release program and to use my time in a way that would benefit me and others. I began to take classes. I would go to the chapel every time that the doors would open. I would look for women who had been there longer than I had and who would walk the yard with joy in their heart and want that. And so I would reach out to them and see what they had that I needed. And one of the things that I did that I think truly made a difference is I would watch people who had a set of keys. Because I knew if they had a set of keys, then they knew more than I did. Because those keys represented freedom. I would watch them and they would go up to the gate and the gate would open and then it would close and they would go home and they would take those keys and they would get in their cars and they would go off into their lives. And so if they came in, whether it was a case manager or a volunteer or a warden or anybody who had those keys, I would listen to what they said. If they told me to go left, I'd go left. If they told me to go right, I'd go right, even if it didn't make sense. Because again, I knew that they knew something that I didn't. And when I opened up my heart, when I opened up my mind to truly believe that I could be something different than who I was, change began to take place. I think the most wasted time that I did was when I had my eyes on the gate. And then I would be listening to every rumor on the yard about early release programs. And then I finally figured out, you know what? There's no magic potion about that gate. Change took place right there where I was in the middle of that prison yard. As I began to think different, as I began to hang around with people who did things different than I did, as I quit laughing at the things that I used to laugh at. That's where change took place. I used my time in a positive way to learn all that I could so that when I got out, I could have my own set of keys. And I gotta tell you something. I work in the prison system today. And the first thing that I do when I go into a prison in Oklahoma is I put in my code and I check out my own set of keys. And that didn't happen quickly, and it didn't happen when I got out. It happened from what was going on in my life during my incarceration.
Man, how you choose to spend your time while you in your cell, while you doing your time, what you choose to do every day is so crucial in how you succeed when you come out. I know I had to process that and wrestle with that myself. I first got introduced to the criminal justice system when I was like 12, 13, and been in it my whole life. And was in prison with a 6 to 20 year sentence, and I had to think to myself, man, how am I going to navigate this time that I'm here? And I ain't coming back here, man. I had a cellie, and I remember talking to him one time, and he was just like, man, either you want to be here for a long time and you want to make this your home, or you want to make this a place you never want to come back to. And he had been down for like 15, 20 years, and he used to always be working out in the law library, and I was, fresh in. But that really stuck with me. And he was just like, man, you got an opportunity right now to really work on yourself. And so, man, I started to tighten up my circle. I knew a lot of the guys from down the way, from my neighborhood. We was always cool. But I knew I couldn't move in some of the things they was doing. So my focus just came on, man, I'm trying to do whatever I can during this time to better myself. And how I used my time, how I steward my time there was, man, I stayed in the yard. I was always working out, exercising, trying to eat better, stayed in the law library, stayed in the library reading something. I made sure my walkie that I walked to the child hall with wasn't an idiot always into something, because I wasn't trying to get sucked into the drama. Man, the guards, you had some guards that's cool, you had some guards that's bad. And sometimes they'd drop a little banana peel on the floor and say something smart, and I realized, man, I can't get caught in that. I gotta swallow my pride because I'm trying to get out of here, you know? And so what I would just say is, to anybody listening right now, if you're in a cell right now, man, you got an opportunity, whether you got 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, man, you got an opportunity to better yourself. And I wanted to make sure that whenever that door opened, because I never thought the door would open, I had a 6 to 20, I didn't know how long I was gonna be in prison. And you know how it is in there. I mean, you could be in there, someone get stabbed, something could happen, and you in there longer than you thought. And so I just was like, yo, I gotta stay out the way. I'm gonna do my time, I'm gonna treat everybody with respect, and I'm gonna focus on whatever can help me better myself. Because when I was in prison, I was in there so long, I was seeing dudes leave, go home, come back, go home, come back. Like, it's crazy, and y'all know what I'm talking about. You see dudes and you like, oh, Mike out? Yeah, he got paroled, or he got released. And then like 8 months later, you like, where Mike at? Oh, he back in the county. And when you think about when he was there, all he did was laugh and play spades all day. You know, and it's like, nah, man, I'm trying to better myself, man. I took GED classes, I took HVAC, carpentry, I went to counseling classes, I did drug and alcohol treatment, and I wasn't trying to look good for the parole board, I was just doing it because I was trying to better myself. When my opportunity came, I took advantage of it.
What you invest in while you're incarcerated is gonna determine the quality of life you live when you get out. I used to spend so much time in my Bible in that context because I kept telling myself, out of the overflow of my heart, my actions and my mouth are gonna speak. Am I prepared for that world out there? And if you continue to invest time in all of the right things, yes, your health, sure, play some chess, go work out, all of that is part of thriving when you get out. Because the goal is not to survive, y'all. Lean into this camera right now. The goal is not to struggle or just survive. The goal is to really thrive. And in order to do that, a lot of investment in you needs to be made now while no one's watching. And in the process over time, I am convinced that what your investment is, the Holy Spirit is going to meet you right there, and you're going to start to bear fruit on a significant level when you start to rub shoulders with people upon release. I'm praying for your success, man.
I would say the most important thing you can do right now, being incarcerated, is begin to think about what that transition of getting out is going to look like. And what is those barriers or strongholds or bondage that's going to be. I always tell people all the time, you have to begin to do the work for your pre-release now while you're still incarcerated. So that when you get released, it's not a shocking to you of the walls and the barriers that you're gonna face, but that you can actually begin to overcome those while you're in prison, so when you get out, that transition will be a lot lighter for you.
In the book of Genesis, when God's describing the creation of plant life in Genesis chapter 2, he says, when it comes to plant life, he says these three things. As long as there is the rising of the sun and the setting of the same, he says there will be seed, time, and harvest. Seed, time, and harvest. When I was first arrested, and they told me how much time I was facing in Iowa, where I was arrested, they had the truth in sentencing law, so I had to do 85% of whatever I was charged with. And so I was facing first-degree armed robbery, 25 years. I was looking at about 22 years in prison. I was 19 years old. I thought my life was over, and I had to make some decisions. And one of the decisions I made was I would not be the same man who came out as the one who went in. I had to decide what I would do. Would I do my time, or would I invest my time? That's what you've got to decide. Why am I saying all that? Because right now you're in a situation that can either, for you, be a desert or a greenhouse. What you plant in your mind, in your heart, will determine what grows. It won't grow overnight, but it will grow over time. God wants to plant His word in your heart. Value-based learning as you're growing and developing in groups, as you're allowing yourself to grow and cultivate. If you'll keep dropping these seeds, so to speak, of knowledge into your heart, over time it will grow. And God is faithful, and here's what He said. As long as the earth remains, there will be seed. That's the knowledge, information that you need, time to let it grow. At some point, you will see a harvest in your life, in your dorm, with your bunkie, in your children, with your family members, with your friends. I would say to you, invest your time. Don't do your time. You will see a harvest at the end of it.
Thriving in prison may sound impossible, but the people we heard from in this video prove that everyone can thrive no matter where they are. Reach out to your facility chaplain to take advantage of educational, life skills, and community building programs that are available to you.